going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 4 of the Coast to Coast podcast. We got Meech, we got Spatial. We are back, boys. How y'all doing, man? How's your week been? Talk to me.
It's been good, man. I've been busy, I mean, if you follow me on there, you know what I've been busy with. So we good, man. We almost at the end of the light of that tunnel.
I've been good, man. I've been good. Unlike Meech, I already have what he's looking for, so I've been chilling, man. Just getting my head kicked in with all-time Dom, but I've been having fun.
Man, just get better, man. Just get better.
You know? Yeah, man. I gotta stop being a noob.
Oh, man. So we were talking earlier, man, and we decided that here at this podcast, we just don't care about the casuals, right? Right, Jones?
Why you bringing up old stuff?
We had a whole podcast. Smash a like if we need to clip that and record that next time and put them out on clips, man. So you're torturing yourself, I see, with the KD jersey. Meech, you're gonna get him just in time for him to be outdated.
Hey, man, you can't outdate my favorite player, man.
That was a test. You see, that was a test to make sure you're a real fan. You know.
Shout out to Pro Play, man. It's never outdated when we got Pro Play.
Oh man. All right, man. So let's jump into the topics. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously, we got a new season, and we're going to get into the new season down the line. We're going to recap season 1 a little bit, but let's get a kind of a pulse on the state of the community. How y'all feeling the temp of the community is at right now? And the follow-up question on that is how you guys been approaching your interactions with the timeline? How you been dealing with all that stuff? Let's start with Spatial Jones on this. Yeah.
So, during our pre-prod pod, I kind of had to check myself a little bit, man. I've been thinking about my brand and my presence and who I want to be, and I don't mind people being mad on the timeline. You know what I mean? I think at the end of the day, what I had to just kind of self-reflect on is that if I'm having fun and I just want to have fun, it's okay to disengage from the timeline without at the same time almost acting as if I'm above the timeline. Because I'm not, you know what I mean? I get pissed. I be whining. I be crying. Shout out to the old heads chat. They know I cry up in there. And they let me cry. We all let each other cry. I just kind of saved that for off the timeline. So, and no judgment by Jones, but I want to curate my energy a little bit differently. And so I kind of engaged a little bit when Meech went viral the other day for the Raven Felton meme. That's going in the all-time vault. Just perfect timing on that by our brother Meech, our brother in 2K. But yeah, man, the timeline's been cool for the most part. I understand that feedback, but I'm still having a lot of fun. I can't lie.
Good stuff, man. Meech, how you feeling about the community? How you feeling about your interaction with the timeline? Your approach to it?
I don't know. I guess I'm trying to, gain some more perspective too. I know there's kind of a lot of stuff going on right now. Especially just kind of being aware of the 2K community as a whole. So not even just my team, there's a lot of things kind of going on the comp pro-am side, the rec side, right now it's a lot of people feeling different ways about gameplay, and kind of how things are going. I feel like that's what I see the most, even in my team, because, we got that little hot fix or ghost patch, whatever you want to call it, to the shooting. So I still think it's fairly easy, but I know some people are kind of struggling with it. So I think right now we're just kind of going through, I don't necessarily really see a lot of what I would say negativity, how we kind of deal with it. See a lot of, I guess, frustrations or, kind of growing pains with gameplay in general. But overall, I think it's been kind of, I want to say kind of weirdly constructive in a sense, just because you're kind of getting these different views on how the game is actually functioning. You got some people saying it's way too easy. You got some people saying I'm actually struggling. So I've kind of seen more people really, I mean, there's still the people get better, you suck. I mean, that's just how it is. But I'm starting to kind of see people, kind of really go into discussion about, why, you think the gameplay is this way, or why, supposedly you're struggling with this. I don't know. I think it's been kind of really inviting. So the temperature of it is really, it's been not too bad. I found myself actually looking to, for things to kind of engage with instead of like, Spatial was saying kind of like, I'm not trying to deal with that. It's just too much. Um, yeah, man, I think overall it's been pretty cool and actually unified with season 2 news, but we'll get we'll get into that later.
The remote rewards unified the whole community. Love to see it, man. Love to see it. Yeah, man, it is kind of cool to see like more discussion being brought into the table. So shout out to like long form posts being the meta on X, because like the more like you can kind of iterate on what you're thinking instead of just being like, oh, this is bad, I hate this. That's cool, man. Like there's space for all these types of opinions and for just feedback and whatever, and just back it up. That's cool. So I kind of had like a little epiphany just the other day, man, because I was really, really down on the timeline and just kind of like, oh, I don't want to engage. I don't want to like all this complaining and negativity, but everybody's making a huge deal out of everything, and it kind of really, I had to kind of reflect on like how I was feeling with other stuff outside of 2K and just kind of realize that like, since I was kind of like dealing my tolerance with when I was kind of dealing with stuff outside of 2K, my tolerance for the stuff on the timeline wasn't there. I was just like, I was getting overly upset at this and that, and like couldn't see things like outside of my perspective and stuff like that. So a lot of times I think that like when we see like these overtly like just kind of one-sided blinders type takes on stuff on the timeline or just nastiness going on, like we have to remember like those people are probably going through some stuff. And like we got to kind of approach that with some like level of compassion to kind of like bring that out of it and not just be like, okay, you messed up today. That's it. Excommunicated. You're gone. You know what I mean? Like there has to be some type of, of dealing with compassion, balancing out with like, hey, like this person has a track record of just not being anything productive to the community and like mute, block, whatever. So there's a balance between that stuff. But again, it really made me realize like a lot of the way that I feel about the timeline is a reflection and a projection of like how I'm feeling about myself or my situation or whatever. So it was kind of an interesting little epiphany for me. But I do see it like tempering a little bit more. Like I said, it's more constructive, like you said. So that's cool. Let's move right into season 1, man. Final thoughts on the season. All right. So overall, how do you guys feel about like season 1? Just overall, before we kind of like dive into it, season 1 a success, a total fail, kind of mid, somewhere,
Well, I mean, it's hard. It's kind of difficult because it's kind of it's like a two-way road almost. So I was feeling actually very, very down about kind of what was going on. 'Cause there was started to be a lot of things that I started to look at, and I'm like, just why? Just like why are some of these things happening? Um, like I'll kind of go into a little bit of what those things are. So, the game started off, we kind of started to see some things becoming, I guess, a little more normal. I would say things like, even though not everyone really involves themselves with this, um, started to see things just like even just like in the pack market, for instance. So when we got the Steph Curry promo, we had like the Amis at like an 11% or something like that. We had in the exchange where we're exchanging 3 sapphires for an unsellable pack. Um, and even me personally, I kind of have fun with that a little bit, because it made it to where if you're trying to get like, Curry, if you wanted to gamble on those packs, let's just say you had the MT, you wanted to kind of gamble on, like a box or whatever. Yeah, the odds were scaled enough to where it wasn't guaranteeing you, some of those enough of those cards to kind of bring the cost down. Um, But you had a decent chance, and then you had the exchanges, just 3 sapphires. You can kind of go through the exchanges and kind of get there. That's how I got Curry. I didn't spend any money for him. I just kind of wing it that way, and it was okay. Like I said, the people who still wanted to go ahead and pay, go and pay. But from that, you just started to kind of see things with like the odds just getting worse, and it just really put me in a sour mood because then I started to see a lot of other stuff. So like the Kevin Durant, packs or whatever, or the perfect build packs come out, you start seeing Ambies now they're below 2%. And then they change it and they make the sapphires, the exchange where it's 5 sapphires for the exchanges. And then I started to just see more stuff. And then you get into the weight situation. And like, while it wasn't the biggest deal, you had a entry point or what seems like it should was meant to be the free content. I understand Wade's amazing, but you paid in to get Wade, and then the Draymond situation where he was only what you expect him to be if you pay for Steph Curry. And I don't know, it just started to get this weird spiral of where things seemed like they had like a decent little middle ground to where it was just like, okay, how can we even just squeeze this little bit of money out of you for this? And let's get this bit of money out of you for this. I don't know. That started to seem to be the trend kind of as the season one winded down. And it started to kind of bug me. But like I said, I'm kind of a gameplay person. So when they started to try to make those changes to gameplay and show that they were listening, that was obviously they didn't just come out and say, hey, we're kind of, up in this and my team play now online. That was a big thing in the community. They were saying, okay, this is way too easy right now. And it shows that they were still kind of listening, and that kind of has an effect in it as well. So I'm kind of like in this in between weird thing where it's like, okay, like they're obviously listening, they're trying to make the game, they're listening to that feedback. Obviously, they're, trying to change some things, but the monetization part of it is just like, it's hard for it to not weigh, on you as a player. So I'm in a weird kind of spot with it right now.
All right, so you're mixed bag on that. Overall, like if you had to give it a grade for the season, what would you give it? Like just 8
letter
F.
or number grade?
8 to
Mr.
F.
Elevate.
8 to F.
Okay.
F. If I had to pick one, I'm gonna say like I'm gonna just say C.
See.
Yeah, I'm gonna say C.
All right, Spatial. Okay. Start off with your grade and then expand on it a little bit, and then I'll get into it. The letter grade.
Trying to play within the confines of Mr. Elevate's sandbox here, unlike in the chat the other day. I would have to give the season for me a B minus. I love salary cap. I don't have much to say about salary. I thought it was great. I like all the rewards. I love the Antoine Walker. And I really just love the Elam ending. It's a really fun mode. Once they kind of figured out the salaries, I think the salaries got better the moment we got more cards, which is kind of what I thought should happen. The only reason I'm probably not as high on the season is number one, I went for the ultimate reward, and I think that kind of, at least for me, it kind of messed with my fun. I probably could have played Dom, triple threat offline, and salary for the whole season and had a great time. But the moment I started going in a co-op or focusing on unlimited, I went for my unlimited ring, and then the unlimited ring got unnecessarily difficult because the shooting was too easy. And so that, gave me some bad vibes. Playing triple threat co-op with a card you're not that familiar with, I was struggling with that KD, man, but I ended up eking out, the wins that I needed. But I was terrible. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was terrible. I had to basically use KD like a stretch big versus like how you should use KD. But I think it was because I had a lot of bad habits from the easy shooting and kind of using some of those speedy guards into those shots. You don't use KD like that. And I know once Meech kind of gets his hands on him, he'll be able to give you guys a thorough breakdown, because I haven't seen one player with KD really know how to use them properly yet, myself included. And so that piece of it was frustrating. I will say the issue with the under or the misreported pack odds. However, shout out to 2K support. They made me whole. They actually gave me additional VC once I reported it. So I really thought that was cool. What else was frustrating for me? Losing my exchange was frustrating. I kind of don't like that you can put in two or three cards in an exchange, and at the very least that pack doesn't carry over. Because at least I felt like last year, if you did that, you kind of kept that exchange all year. So I don't really like that piece of it. And I also felt like we should have got more player kind of like earnable players. Like the gauntlet was great for the comp guys. Shout out to y'all, man. Shout out to y'all. I'm really glad you guys got what got something, because you're probably not getting fed the way you need to. I think we can all acknowledge that. But I really did like, the summer standout series, new names, new faces, or whatever the hell it was called. And I truly genuinely thought after the first 2 weeks that we were going to see that every week. And then we didn't. And then by the third week, you introduce, hey guys, we need you to buy in to earn a player. Now, the Dwayne Wade is great, no issue there. But I have and during our pre-prod pod, I have a hard time with paying a certain amount for cards. Like I really don't like the Ruby amounts. Those are frustrating, and paying for those sapphires, I didn't like that. I just kind of feel like, hey, if you're going to add something that's earnable, keep it that way. Right. So that really kind of soured me and soured my experience a bit. So that's why I'm grading it the way I am.
All right. Some good points, man. I agree with a lot of what both of you are saying. I think I would grade it a little bit higher. Maybe I'll go like B+ or so. And there's always some shortcomings that, here and there, whatever. But I just think, for one, there was a lot of content. Like we were getting a lot of like double promo Fridays, then like multiple promos throughout the week, like to start off, with that Shaq lock-in sets, those legendary path guys. And then you also had a lot of like kind of like different types of like grinds. So you had like your Bosch Chris Bosch grind that you could just like play. If you were good, you got it. You had kind of like your ultra money. If you just have millions in the bank account and just want to throw money at everything, you can do that and not have to like grind at all. So Dwayne Wade, I kind of saw it as kind of like a middle ground of stuff. It's like, I get why people were like, oh, why can't you just make it all free? But like I saw it like, hey, like we just paid like 1 point something mil for Shaq, and then we got KD, and then what was 700K for Steph, and now 100K for another diamond. Cool, like I'm cool with that. The B-Roy was kind of like all grind, no paying type of deal. Excessively long grind. I agree with that. Like it does rob some of your fun if you don't particularly like certain modes. But Brandon Roy is a great card. You had another all money type of deal with collector level Sean Marion. I don't know if anybody has Sean Marion here, but I don't for sure.
I do.
You do?
Spatial do, yeah.
Okay, so
he's awesome.
He's awesome.
He's awesome. Love him.
So I just think that there was like a lot of different things. So like I don't know. It feels weird when like they try different types of things, and it's like, well, like I don't like that particular thing. Why can't everything be like this? But they're like sprinkling in like something for you, something for you, something for you, something for you, something in the middle with like the Dwayne Wade grind. So I thought that was cool. Like I felt like there was a lot to do during season 1. I know some people finished like everything like 2 weeks in, and like they had nothing to do for for a long time. But like those are outliers. Obviously, we can't like if you kind of like stage it to like meet the demands of those guys, like we're not going to get anything, And I play the game a lot too. So, but I finished Brandon Roy with like 2 weeks to spare, maybe 2.5 weeks to spare, something like that.
Not bad.
So I don't know. I liked it, man. I thought there was a lot of good in it. Some tweaks that they needed to make, some corrections that they did make with like salary cap and stuff like that. That was cool to see. But overall, pretty solid. I want to jump into player pricing. And this season 1 and kind of carries over to season 2 and stuff like that. But like specifically player pricing compared to last year. So top tier cards, what did they cost in the auction house last year versus like what do we have to pay for them this year? So I'm gonna ask this question first. Who do you consider, like, give me like your top 3 cards in the game and like what they cost?
Oh, top 3 cards
And
in
they
the
could be like top
game.
3 for you, top 3 that you faced against, just like your whatever that means for you, you know?
Yeah, I'm trying to see. So Steph is one.
Yeah.
He has to be up there. Um, I'm trying not to stick to one position and kind of really think about it in total. I can't say KD because I don't have him, but I mean, I'm going to err on the side that he probably
I mean,
is.
you could base it on like if you faced against them a bunch of times and you're just like, bro, like I hate seeing this card like line up against me. Like you could base it on that. I'm gonna base a lot of mine on that criteria right there. It's like who
Yeah.
am I like, oh crap, here we go.
If I had to say it, it's Steph,
Okay.
Book. Because my God, people have gotten good with Book. Um, hmm. Oh, I feel like I'm almost at the verge of giving Shaq other edge just because of he was like the first OP card, and there's still only a few people that can really, I guess, handle him.
Mhm.
So I guess I'm gonna go with that. I'm trying to make sure that it's not anybody I'm missing. I think that's my top 3. I'm like going through the cards right now just to kind of like look and see. Um, yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say Shaq, Steph, and I'm gonna go Book.
Okay. Spatial, real quick, like give me a top because we're gonna get into like what do you think those cards would cost last year, or what were the top cards last year? I don't know if we have that greater memory to say and like what they cost and stuff, but like that's what I kind of want to get at is like what the price point difference is between this year and last year with some of those. Especially, you got a top three real quick.
Yeah. So I would obviously say KD. I'd go with Steph. And I think like Meech, I think I would have to agree with Book. I think in terms of value though, I think you're getting the best value from getting those cards. That's what I do agree with, just from the card itself, not necessarily the set. I know the sets, you talk about the what is it, the perfect build set. It gets bad after like what, Zach Levine, right? So it's like but the set for Book, I think is pretty solid, at least in terms of salary. And I thought Steph's set wasn't bad either too. The cooking set, there's a lot of usable cards in there. But those are the ones I think you're getting your best value from. But they are pricey. The KD, I think, what is it, 1.3 or 1.2?
That's 1 point. I think it's 1.3 with
Yeah, it's
no
1.3,
agenda,
which is a
and
lot.
then 1.1 with the agenda. I think that's
Yeah,
how it broke down.
yeah. That's really pricey. I thought Steph was like just under a mil, I think, and I think Book is like $50, right? 50, $60, something like that, $60. So Book isn't too
No,
expensive.
Book was 20, like a little bit over 20.
Oh yeah, you're right, because he was
Yeah,
on the
Book was
path.
cheaper.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
Book was cheaper.
Book. I think everybody should get Book though. That card's just you just talk about instant offense and just kind of playing all time dom. He's a really really good even on those higher tier cards with his shooting. I still haven't unlocked him yet. My leaner game is really bad, but like the step back game is still there once you kind of realize you have to move forward to activate the step back at a certain angle. But yeah, those are mine.
Yeah, so I would agree with Steph being. So I'm gonna kind of like approach it from a perspective of like, damn, like when I see that person in the lineup of my opponent, I'm like, oh shit. So Steph is definitely one. Book, and I'm gonna give the top 3 spot to Brandon Roy, but he like the card. I'm more afraid of Kyle Korver than like a lot of other dudes. I'm more afraid of Kyle Korver than like Shaq, than Bosch, than Wade, than even a guy like Brandon Roy, because I don't think a lot of people use Brandon Roy like he could. But I've played against one dude that like really like showcased how good Brandon Roy is. And Brandon Roy is really good for me too. So
that card's really good.
So overall, he's a better card. But like as far as kind of like, oh man, if this guy is gonna use this guy to his potential, it's Steph, Book, and really Corver. But that's kind of like just little weird little broken card. So how much would a card like Steph and Book, if they were just like in the auction house, like how much would they be going for right now?
I mean, well, Steph, because of Steph, I don't know about right now. I mean, when he came out, you would have seen him hit the mill. I'm pretty sure we saw Pink Diamond Steph day one.
Yep.
Last year hit the mill, so he definitely would have been a mill. Book, his popularity has grown, but I don't think Book has ever hit the mill marks.
I think it'd be like 200.
Yeah, 200, maybe 350 at most.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then who was our last one? Shaq? Was it Shaq?
You guys both had Shaq in there, right?
Sure
you had Shaq.
I didn't have Shaq. Each did though.
Okay.
Oh, I did.
Shaq would be a mill.
I think Shaq would be a mill too. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I agree.
So two of those guys would probably be about like what they cost, and Steph and Shaq, and then Book would probably be a little more expensive than he costs now. It's kind of where the consensus is on that. So I guess I'm just trying to zero in on like comparison, and not to really say like, oh, this is better than the other or not, because I mean it doesn't really matter, but just to give some perspective on that, as far as like there's some ups and downs, some drawbacks and benefits of the system compared to last year's, and then vice versa as well,
Right.
Let's see, what do I got going on? Oh, this is a fun one. Okay, so this is kind of something I always kind of like wonder just to myself. Okay, so if you have like different categories of cards, right? Like collector level cards, lock-in cards, cards for big grinds, cards for smaller grinds, cards for mode rewards, just cards that are straight up in packs as like non-lock-in, like headliner type cards. Like where should like the best cards be? Where should like, if you have like a hierarchy of like, okay, the best card should be here and then here and then here and then here and then here. Where do you think like that falls in?
So, I mean, I don't know if this is player bias, but I think the best, the absolute best cards should be in the collector level.
Okay.
I mean,
I agree with that.
The amount of money that people are doing to do collector level is like, I mean, it's no way they shouldn't have the best cards. After that, I think that it should be, honestly, after that, I think it needs to be in wherever the most difficult game mode is. So whether that's, I mean, obviously unlimited. I think unlimited should have one of the best cards through that whole season, for sure. And then I would go probably. We'll go maybe then to, or maybe the online mode should have whatever the next best set of cards is. And then maybe you go to, those pack headliners or whatever. And then
where do lock-ins like come into play?
Lock-ins.
Because lock-ins should be better than pack headliners, right?
Yeah. So like they're A and B. So the lock-in and then the headliners, right next to each other, and then right below that should be the offline. Just because you should have, you should. I don't know if it's this year. The best card maybe needs to be an all-time domination, but yeah, typically should have an easier time. But like that should come, since you can do it so much easier, should be a bottom tier, but it still shouldn't be just this completely unusable type of thing.
Right.
All right, Special, what do you think about like just the hierarchy of stuff like that? Where should they kind of slot in? What do you think?
So I have many thoughts on this. So I think I never really agree with the best cards being locked away behind modes or online connected modes personally, because I never get them. But that's like a personal thing. I know some people like that grind though. They like to, get online and do that, but that's probably my preference. However, at the same time, I'm not sure I agree with locking those cards behind packs either. I think that, while I like the KD a lot, if I didn't hit on a particular player, I probably wouldn't have got him, but I did. And so like, it's cool, but I do kind of feel like, man, more people should have access to him. More people should have access to Shaq. But I do like that it's kept, by not having it this way, it's kept lineups pretty diverse still. But we're only 1 month in, so or 2 months in almost. So, that diversity is probably about to change now. So I'd probably fall right there. I think it should be more earnable rewards, though, either via agendas that you can do online or offline. I kind of like that idea. That's why the Dwayne Wade thing was cool. You could basically do anything you wanted and you got them. But when you talk about an ultimate reward, like something like the Chris Bosh, I completely understand. It's like this needs to be locked behind something. From an enjoyment standpoint, I don't enjoy that, because at least for me, when I see that approach, I go, well, I'm not going to play. That's why I don't really play unlimited. Not that unlimited isn't fun at times, it is, but the matchmaking is so weird in a lot of the online connected modes, except for salary, to where I feel like I'm being put at a distinct disadvantage, so I opt out. So I don't, but at the same time, like I said, I don't really agree with, well, if I'm going to spend my dollar, that means I get Kevin Durant and Meech can't. Like, I don't think that that's ideal either.
So where do like a collector level and stuff like that? Like, what does that factor into like the?
I think collector level. Sorry about that. Collector level. I feel like I don't know. I do think that you should get a cool reward, like a mid tier reward. Like, would I put a Tim Thomas on collector level? No. But like, would I put like a Brandon Roy on a collector level reward? I think that would be fair. Brandon Roy's pretty good, The first thing I noticed about the Brandon Roy was his ability to get contact dunks. He starts his contact dunks and you don't even know. Like you're just trying to guard him, and next thing you know, you're in a 2P animation. So like stuff like that, I'm cool with. I know in this version though, being a collector isn't really useful. But what I will say is we just started season 2. And because I had like 1,122 cards, I got 2 diamonds off rip. I'm pretty happy about that. I must say, not gonna lie to you. But at the same time, like I don't know if Tiny Nate Archibald and Gordon Hayward are like better than. I don't know if Gordon Hayward's even better than Sean Marion, and I seriously doubt that Tiny Archibald is on the same level as Steph and Kyrie. I seriously doubt it. But I kind of like that. I do like getting rewarded for collecting if you go that route. I don't think ultimate rewards though, like big name guys like Shaq, LeBron, I don't think that should be associated with collector level personally, because you're collecting, and at least in this year's version, it's really just about spending money, right? Like in other years, it was like a little bit of both, or it was kind of like, oh, okay, you can work the auction house and really, really lock in on collecting, and now you get, what was it last year? Dark Matter, Jason Tatum, or something like that. So like that's okay. But with this type of version where there's no auction house, I don't think the best reward should be tied to collector level at all.
That's a good point, because that changes my perspective a little bit, to be honest. That last little point right there just does change a little bit. Because I think back to like 2K19, where like the last collector was like a Giannis, like a Galaxy Opal Giannis.
Yep, I remember that.
In that collection, you also had like a pink diamond Chris Webber. You had a pink diamond J.R. Smith. You had a diamond Andrei Kirilenko, who was skyrocketed into like 2K lore for like a long time because he was just so good.
Right.
We had cards like AD up there as top collector level, and Dwayne Wade was really good in 2K20, stuff like that. There was Sabonis, there was a Pippen that was pretty good after an Evo or whatever. And like that, it was really fun, man. It was really fun to like lock in for collector level and like kind of try to like manage it and then get that reward and be like, okay, like now I got this boss card that can like wreak havoc. And in 2K19, like that Giannis was still like a top maybe 3 card.
Yep. In
the game in 19, like, and he was available in like April, and at the end of the cycle he was still a top 3 card. And I was like, okay, like it was worth it, man.
Yep.
But also you could like sell back your collection after you got there. So it was kind of like invest for the future type. There's a lot of ways to kind of like play the game, and it was really fun. And then we've had years where like the collector level meant literally nothing. I think 21, there was two cards in the collector level. It was like a Dame and a Jason Tatum. That's where the Tatum comes from. And it was like, okay, there's no point to doing this. Last year we had the debacle with like the Rashard Lewis, where it was like, okay, it was like, all right, 2K drops next week, guys. Here's Rashard Lewis, and it was just like, okay, bro, like this card has the same animations as like, the KD you gave me for completing modes or whatever, little spotlight things and whatever, So like, it was just like there was no point. It was like such a letdown there was no excitement, no buzz about it. It was just like, all right, I'm gonna do this because like that's like, I guess I'm one of the collectors in the community, so I got to do it. But like, I hate doing this. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So there's that. And then other modes. It's interesting where like mode rewards like come into play, because like I would say that like for most of the stuff, like the worst one, I mean, for me, the worst one is like triple threat offline and maybe clutch time offline too. It's just like, or co-op. Just like, I don't want to do this, but like unlimited is like super easy to get,
Yeah.
in this system, it's probably one of the easiest ones to get.
You just get it. You get it for playing, basically, which is great. I do like that change. I like that they kept that from last year's version. I do.
So I don't know. I had collector level at the top of my list, and then lock-ins, and then kind of like mode rewards, kind of like in the same spot with like headliner like cards, or like a tad above maybe mode rewards. So like depending on mode too. I'm also totally cool with like different modes getting like different tiers. Like in this scenario, like some modes getting amethyst and some modes getting rubies. Like for example, if they dropped triple threat offline to like 50 games, like most of the other triple threat modes, and like make that one a ruby, but make unlimited an amethyst, stuff like that, like that'd be cool with that. And then you have like your really big grinds. So like your spotlights for that take like the KG spotlights last year, stuff like that, or like ultimate grinds and like Brandon Roy type cards. I think those should have value. Domination, all-time domination. I think it's a crime that Pau Gasol isn't like a pink diamond for like what you got to go through to get that, man.
You should not have to win by 15 in all-time dom.
Yeah,
they definitely got to change that to crazy. Just beat those teams, because that mode is crazy.
And then have, like more role player type guys that can fit into like role player slots in whatever like the power creep is for like really short grinds, or like little daily things, whatever, stuff like that. But I just thought it was interesting to like hear your perspective on that, where they kind of fit in. Anything you guys want to add to that before we kind of move on?
No, I think you
nailed it.
Right, cool.
Yeah, I think you nailed it pretty good on that.
All right, man. Let's get into shooting patches. Yeah. Who in the live chat has been waiting for us to touch on shooting? Let us know in the comments. All right, so shooting patches, man. They touched shooting first. They kind of buffed the wide open shot make percentage or green window size on like Hoff, green or miss type stuff. So we felt it in all-time dom a little bit. They felt it in the rec, in the park. Then they recently changed things for 5v5 modes, and somewhere along there in one of those little patches, they added like these crazy speed ups and slow down things, which supposedly those are going away. But speak out. I'm gonna let Meech start with this one because I feel like he has a lot to say about this.
Yeah. It's hard for me. So the pre-patch shooting, I'm sorry. I stand on it. It was way too easy. Um, it's just not something you want from an online perspective, especially considering the time we're in.
Mm.
If it was that way, and we're in season, I don't know, 5 and 6, and we have pink diamonds and all this stuff, like I'd have been like, I mean, I guess okay, it makes more sense. But when you have emeralds and sapphires playing like they're pink diamonds, then it's an issue.
Mm.
Um, and you know, there's it has to be a progression. Um, I'm gonna be completely honest. The online difficulty, because I expected it to stay the same, I honestly didn't think that they would touch it. That was a huge factor in why I didn't go get Brandon Roy.
Mm.
Why would I?
Yeah.
Why would I go get Brandon Roy and spend this time playing triple threat offline, things that I maybe don't want to play, if I can just pull up in your face with Kyle Korver and bring a smothered contest? It made no sense. It
That's
took
fair.
away. It took away what elevate. You always use a specific word for it. Gym integrity. I think you always kind of say it.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's a diamond, all this stuff. And I understand, he can dunk better than Corbett, he can do all this, but from my perspective, if I just need somebody to shoot, why would I care?
Right.
It was already that Amethyst D book was already like, okay, I mean, you can go get Roy, but it lessened the thing. It should be like, okay, if I go get this diamond, I know he's gonna be eons better in this, whatever. And shooting was just a big part of it. Because the paint defense, I felt like they pretty much nailed.
Yeah. You know what's
Um,
interesting? Sorry to interrupt you, but that's a
no,
great point. And that mentality also, like, that factors into like why I don't lock in Steph or like KD or like go for a lot of these cards, because I'm just like, okay, like what are they gonna do like that I can't have like a specialized player like do that thing and then like just have somebody else do something else. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like the team building aspect of
exactly.
that. And then I think it should be like I wouldn't have an issue with like Kyle Korver being a knockdown deadly shooter where you can't leave him open.
Right.
Like they threw the Curry slide on him though, which is like silly, like so it's just like those little tiny tweaks that would make the big difference. And I agree. Like at first I was kind of like, okay, the shooting, whatever. They're probably making too big of a deal. But like I got into some of those games with higher tier cards and yeah, bro, like it was just like screen, sliver of daylight, fade with Book or Steph and like all day, every day, So it needed to
Yep.
be touched for sure. Sorry to interrupt, man.
Yeah.
Continue on. But that was a great
No,
point.
no. Yeah, no, that's perfect. But yeah, so, you know, I felt it was needed. And then the way they have it now, I've played quite a bit, and it's been mostly salary cap. Which is fine. I haven't really I played some unlimited. I kind of felt it in there too. It almost feels like a pretty decent medium, I will say, because I can feel that little touch they put in there. Because I'm
Mhm.
not gonna lie, when I first logged onto the patch, me with Book, it was weird. I couldn't shoot with Book, and I was like, bro, what happened? Like, but then I started to really like focus in and be like, okay, what's going on here? And I started to look at what was happening. And before the pre-patch, I was just taking wild stuff with Book. Like I didn't care. I was doing, step back fadeaways from 2 feet behind the thing with like a guy kind of on me, and I was making it, and that's what I became accustomed to. When I started to look at it and I started to kind of change, I'm like, okay, let me take better shots. It's like it just came right back, and I was just hitting again, again, again. So I really think that I think the change just made it to where you can't just be shooting anything, which should have never been the case anyways. It should have never been that way. Like I said, especially with these gym tiers. So it just kind of made it more to, I feel like how it should have been from the get-go. Because
Mhm.
we should have never have been deeming Kyle Corvus almost being 2K22 Luca, because it's really shooting wise, that's almost how broken he kind of was. And
Yep.
he, like you said, they gave him the Curry slide so he could create. But yeah, I don't know. I think the shooting is perfect right now. Like I said, I know some people are maybe struggling a little bit, but I promise if we just give it a little time, it'll come back. And you're going to be thanking yourself once we get like pink diamonds and stuff, because I can't even imagine what the game would have looked like on that old shooting patch with better
Even more wild
cards.
cards, yeah. Especially when
Yeah.
your Giannis's and stuff like that start being able to shoot like that, then you're just like, oh Jesus! Like, how
Exactly.
do you
Be-
for a bowl or
because
whatever, you know?
because the Ruby already could. Like I was knocking down
Right.
stuff with Giannis. It was just like, wait, it was ridiculous. So
Spatial, how you feeling about this shooting patch? Have you played online much with it?
I got into some triple threat online. I played a salary cap game, and I think I played maybe 2 unlimited games since the update. So I'm not torn. Shout out to the old heads, man. Y'all know who y'all are, man. But I saw some of the critiques about shooting, and I agreed with it. But I didn't agree with it from a Spatial Jones's experience. Because, again, we're all kind of similar users in terms of our mindset and our approach to offense. I mean, outside of Meech can probably get to his stuff a whole lot quicker than I can. But I'm a big shot quality guy. So for me, in my learning of 2K through my experience through, since, I don't know, man, 2002, like, I didn't have trouble with shooting. But I know that I am an exception and I'm not the rule. And I know that there are many users who simply put don't know about that type of mentality towards playing 2K. And so when folks like DBG, shout out to Jazz, when they tweeted about shooting, I agree with them, because I feel like there is a lot of users who may not know that they need to adjust, or that this adjustment it's a slight adjustment. To Meech's point, it's not so far skewed the other way. If you want to get those leaners with Kyrie, you can. You just got to get to the open spot to get the leaner. Whereas before, like you said, like I can tell you from firsthand experience, you couldn't contest Mike Miller's jump shot. It was the same way as Kyle Korver's. You couldn't contest Kyle Korver's jump shot. He was literally and utterly the best player in my team, and he was a Ruby card. He wasn't even paid. Like Kevin Durant's jumper is not like those guys. Like, so you could defend him more than you could defend Kyle before this update. So like, I love it from a balance standpoint. I do think that it was necessary to improve kind of what we're experiencing online. I do think that we needed that. I think a lot of folks just got really, really bad habits, and long term, that's just no good. But the reason I say those things is, like, again, I have a long history of basketball games where, like, I'm someone who will tell you that NBA Live Elite had great mechanics. And you'll listen to somebody like Zara, shout out to Zara, who's my background. Zara will tell you that's wrong, and here's why, right? And I don't agree. I love learning new mechanics. I really, really love this basketball video game stuff. I bought basketball video games for mobile games. I bought basketball video games anytime I could have them. Hell, those old handheld like Hasbro games. I used to get those with basketball video games. I love basketball games. So I don't mind learning a new mechanic. But when you tell a bunch of people who kind of like that ease of use that, hey, you got to change it up, it's not going to be received well. And so that's why I thought DBG and them, were right. And I put that in my chat with my guys. Like, I told y'all this was going to happen. But what I will say is it got quiet today. I ain't seen nothing. So I think everybody's straight. I think it was a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
With to Meech's point. But again, I just think that a lot of times you got to understand that, like, it's there are more people playing, and like everybody's not gonna, that we don't all have the same approach, and it matters, man. It matters. And it sucks that it is that way, because it can impact your experience.
Let me quote, pre-podcast Spatial. We don't care about the casuals around here, man.
Hey man, why you bringing up old stuff? Man?
No, they're valid points, man. But it's funny because, like, I was like, I agree with what you're saying, but then you were like, but we got to think about them anyway, like, I think they should have to adjust to, like, taking better shots, like, I don't think, I don't think you should be able to just, like, hop on. I mean, if you want to hop on and do that crazy stuff, like you can go to like semi-pro and like go crazy. You can play certain things on pro, whatever. You can go crazy. Now, I do think like they should have stuff like I think like clutch time should be a little more lax or like triple threat. Pick a mode.
That's a good point.
Pick a mode that's like a little bit more casual like that, and then leave the real 5v5 like NBA in an NBA arena type stuff to like more like realistic stuff, you know. And I think Ticino was talking about that on Twitter or X, whatever, yesterday or today, where he was like, they should make Park, you know, like a more casual experience and then stuff like that. You know, I am totally on board with that. I think there should be a place for like more arcadey like play styles to go crazy, have fun, do wild stuff, and just realize when you go in there, like, hey, like you're an NBA All-Star game. You're not going to play D. You're just going to like hope they miss and like try to get highlights. You know, like that's and that's cool. There's a place for that. But like as far as like a core balance stuff, like you should be rewarded for taking better shots. So that's my thing is like if you have these mechanics, then what reward are you giving to the high basketball IQ plays? You know, you're totally like negating that whole like aspect of playing basketball. And like in those coin flip situations when it's like, well, I see this side and this side, like I err on the side of like, okay, what's real basketball? You know,
right.
That's bias on my point, but it's like this is a basketball game, bro. Like
it's a simulation.
We're not playing like hockey. You know, like you know what I mean? Like it's a basketball. Like I expect basketball stuff to happen, and if you're like befuddled by why like there's basketball things happening in a basketball game, like I don't know how to respond to that. You know,
I don't know what to tell you.
So, but that
somebody said we don't care about casual. I don't know who said that, but I didn't. I didn't say that. Spatial Jones. That didn't come from Spatial Jones. It came from somebody though, man. They were bugging. Man. They were bugging out.
Wilding out here on the pod, man. And that's kind of like a tiny little sidestep onto that because Mike Wang had some posts I think on Reddit or something about like explaining kind of like the pure green windows versus kind of like the RNG systems that we've had in the past. You guys want to touch on that a little bit? Like not too long because we got to get into season 2 and then kind of wrap up. But you guys want to get into like pure green window, which is kind of what we have, versus like RNG. And for those that don't understand like what that means, so essentially a pure green window, like you have a green window that maybe gets shrunken or expanded by like contest or ratings or whatever, a little bit jump shot type. But there's a green window that if you hit it, you're gonna hit it. 100% smothered, fading, leaning, whatever. If you hit that green window, like there's nothing in the code that says, hey, you're gonna hit the green window, but you're gonna get a straight arm white, you know, 5% of the time or 10% of the time or whatever. Versus what we've had in the past was that sometimes you'd be like, bro, I know I green this, but like that's where the straight arm term came from. You know, I green this, but the algo, the RNG said like, nope, you're getting a white and it's not going to go in. So what camp, pick a side. Let's divide. Let's get divisive here. What are your thoughts on that type of stuff? Because I've gone in length about pure green and green or miss. And like, I got some very strong thoughts on that, but I want to hear your perspective.
Can I go first on this one?
Go for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think I shout out to Mike. You know, the reason why I like that he even came out and said that. I want the 2K dev team to do that more often. I want them to be able to have the freedom as artists and creatives to say, this is our vision and this is what we want to do, and not have to acquiesce every single time. I do think that there's time for fine tuning, like the shooting patch that Meech and those guys were kind of being like, yo, this has to change. But I like this approach. However, when you stand on something, you also have to completely be okay with the fact that there will be fallout, meaning there are going to be people that don't agree. So I think that, you know, folks that kind of fall on the opposite side of that, I kind of get it. I kind of get it. You know, they kind of want some, I don't want to say freedom, but kind of some give. However, I do like the idea of like mastery, right? When it comes to games, like, you know, you look at fighting games or Smash Brothers, I used to think Smash Brothers was such a stupid, like just a game. And then dog, the pandemic hit and I played with dudes that really play that game. and they're telling me about frame rates. They're telling me about cancels, and I'm sitting there like, what are you talking about, brother? I only know what I'm seeing.
I'm
And
just
like
mashing
that's
buttons, man. What you
that
talking
that's that
about?
game within a game you kind of get into. And I think 2K needs more of that, man. I think we need that. We need that, like, yo, like even in the my team space, we kind of need that. If I'm playing Meech and Meech knows every single shot he wants to get to with KD and he gets it and his timing is perfect, there shouldn't be a badge or something that breaks him out of that or speeds him up. Nah. Like if I can't stop him, if I can't get him to pick the ball up, if I can't send a double team to keep him from doing what he's trying to do, and that dude's getting to his work, hey man, you got to take that. Like that's hoop. Meech is 6'4", 6'5". If we played and Meech had a pull up jumper and I'm 6'1.5" and I did this, so like sometimes you're just dead. Like that happens. That's hoop. And like I kind of like that. I kind of like that it has that approach. Like, and especially since I've watched pros like Fanta, I've watched guys that play at a high level. That kind of like it looks like green or miss when you're playing those guys that can get those shots. Shout out to pros like Splash, who like you're not impacting Splash. Splash is missing. You're not doing nothing with him. And you got to take that. So like I kind of love that us kind of going this way. I think that the game has been a little too casual friendly in competitive environments. And like,
you don't care about the casuals here, man.
Hey man, I ain't say that, man. That ain't from Spatial Jones, man. Spatial Jones is different, but yeah, like I just kind of like that, man. I really think we need that. We need to kind of, you know, I asked for rank on our last pod. We need mechanics that kind of separate people. You know what I mean? And I think Green or Miss does that.
Yeah,
that was very passionate, man. I was like, yeah, man, I was getting all hyped over here in my chair.
This can't be a thing every week where every time I do something like that happens.
This is gonna make the highlight reel, baby. You know, you're giving me some good material for the highlight reel.
Hey,
Passion Jones.
Passion Jones.
Late night Passion Jones. Okay, we're getting to a environment there, but
that's funny, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm gonna keep it real simple. I'm with Spatial. I mean, we're playing a video game, man. Like, it's about controlling. You know, we have this thing in our hand called a controller. I need to control, you know, what's happening. Especially when you think about it, you know, we're talking about, you know, as long as there's variables, you know, contests, things like that are changing that green window. So it's not the same every time.
Right.
If you can master hitting an ever-changing window perfectly, why you got to reward people for that. Like I know sometimes it can get a little crazy, but the percentage of people that can keep up with an ever-changing green window and time it like that is very, very rare. We also talk about the 1%. It may be less than 1% who can constantly do that. I don't think it ruins a gameplay experience. Now, I'm trying to think and make sure, because then you get into the areas. Okay, is that opening up floodgates for Zens? Which I don't know how all of that works. But if it's an ever changing window, I don't know that you can script a Zen to hit it all the time. I don't know. Maybe you can. So that may be the only argument, but without enough knowledge of how a Zen works, what you can script it to fully do, I like that idea. Like I said, if you're getting and you can time that window and it's changing every single time based on a type of contest, stronger contest, weaker contest, but you're hitting it, I don't know why that shot doesn't go in. Like Spatial said, it's hoop. Yeah, I've seen people literally put their elbows in Steph's face and he's just walking back, shimmying down the court. Like people, Carly can contest KD. I don't know if anybody can contest KD. Like if it's going in, it's going in. So I like it.
Yeah, man. I'm kind of okay. I'm mostly on that same wave. Okay. Now I'm gonna give like this little counter. Okay, so for one, you do have to have like some type of variation that happens under like extreme contestant situations. So like shrinking the green window, but like you shrink it like to like the late side or the early side of the green window, depending on like if it's an early late contest, things like that, where it's still somewhat like, okay, hey, this is the later contest coming. I know my window's gonna be towards the the back end of it or whatever. So there's still like a mastery to it, but it's very difficult to master. So it rewards, but it's not like, okay, like, it's going to be in the very center of the green window all the time. So like, it's just going to get smaller. So I got to hit it right in the center. Like that type of green or miss pure green window doesn't work because it totally negates a defense. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, I could defend. You just know that one spot and you hit it all the time. And then that's a broken mechanic.
Yeah.
There's a lot to skill gap other than just like timing of a button. Okay. We're talking basketball IQ and generating good shots, understanding where like help is coming from, all this types of stuff that like has to be rewarded and incorporated into skill gap. So when I hear, you guys don't want a skill gap. No, I want a more complex skill gap, So there's that part of it. The other part of it is like rating wise. So like I'm perfectly cool with a KD, with a Steph, with somebody like that hitting those types of shots, but not with like Wilt Chamberlain or Giannis or whatever. So there's got to be floors to ratings where like that stuff can't happen. And I'll show you guys the post that I wrote in the Discord at some point. Maybe I'll put it up on screen or something at some point too. But there has to be like tiers of like shooters that can kind of get away with like, there's nothing you can do with that on the rating side. So that applies to the Park side and MyTeam cards as well. Right. And there's got to be like this group of players that like, that's not going to happen. Like if you're below, like if you're like in the 70s in a rating, like the 100% smothered, you're not going to make it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or you're going to make it 1% of the time or whatever. Something like that where it's you just can't do that with anybody just because you got your timing perfectly down, because you don't understand your personnel at that point. So that there's a skill gap in knowing your personnel and knowing who you can do that with and who you can't do that with. Yep. You know what I mean? And that's where I think you get like some good balance in like rewarding defense and skill gap in defense, skill gap in offense, stuff like that. So I think there's a better way to marry those two things. But I agree on the top tier side with like your elite scorers, like reward it, make it skill, make it that game within the game. Understand, contest is coming early. I gotta it's gonna be towards the front of my green window. I gotta hit that spot. And then if I don't green it, it's not going in, stuff with like even with like whites going in, like in the 5v5 modes, I'm okay with some whites going in if you're wide open, if you have good ratings, whatever. I'm not cool with whites going in when you have a low rated shooter and it's heavily contested. Like that's garbage.
I agree. Yes.
So it's like, again, the nuance in like the discussion of stuff, not just like, I don't want any whites going in. No, I don't want pure green. Like dive into it a little bit. Like, let's not just go this or this. Let's not choose A or B. Let's choose C that marries some things from other things, right? So that's my take on that.
I agree.
All right, man, let's jump into season 2 real quick. We're not going to spend too much time on season 2 because next episode, 2 weeks from now, we're going to dive really, really into like what season 2 feels like. But let's talk a little bit of it. And the main thing, man, mode rewards.
Yep.
Go for it,
rewards. Rubies and rubies. And
man.
I'm sure there's more rubies somewhere. Where are you? Rubies. I mean, but just so you know, this ruby may be okay. But
why don't you check out Triple Threat Co-op, man? What's the reward for that one? Oh man, dang.
It's
fun.
I'll briefly kind of touch on this, man. Chris Morris is a shooting guard, and I didn't peep that. Anyways, this
you got
is
Zach Morris.
This is my whole. Yeah. I literally didn't catch it, Chris Morris. But this is my actual issue. Okay, so we're playing for these cards. Okay, we're playing for these cards. There has to be the reason to play the game,
Mm-hmm.
However, come into here, I can just buy this.
Yep.
I can go ahead. Actually, look at this. I can just grab this.
Yep.
I can just grab this
Yep.
I mean, it goes further. This isn't stopped. You can lock in all this. You can go get a KD. You could have got this set for Luca. Let's just take it a step further. Let's just take it a step further. This was a lock in. This is an
Yep.
amethyst. The the reason to go in and play the game has to be higher. Okay.
Yep.
Now I went into even the other amethyst just to show that the reason you play is still lower gym level, which does have a factor. I know that we can say, oh well, that doesn't just mean it's better, but it does hold like some type of integrity. There's more badge availability. There's going to be typically better stats for the cards. But this right here means that we're going to be seeing this season. So seasons are 6 weeks. We're going to be seeing this consistently, maybe once to twice a week, maybe
Yeah.
1 to 2 cards,
Yeah.
every single time. So it doesn't make sense that you can go in and straight out buy a diamond and then tell me to go in and play for a ruby. It's too much of a discrepancy. Even if these were amethysts, okay, at least at that point, you're a 1 gem tier off, okay? Meaning that you can go into these modes, get those cards, and you're a little bit closer to competing with this instead of it being such a wide gap now. I mean, and this Jordan is actually ridiculous. I was looking at the card, like you put this against any ruby, I just don't see what you're doing with them.
It's over.
Now, if you had an amethyst, it may still be a little bit crazy, but you have more badge availability. The stats a little bit closer. It competes with it just a little bit better. So, really, my biggest issue is that you can come in and outright buy these diamonds. If this was still an amethyst, I wouldn't be that mad about the rubies because again, it's that 1 gem tier off. But knowing that you're just going to be able to come in here by next week and probably grab 4 of these, and you're still coming in to play for this, it's just not it, man.
Yeah, really, you're buying all those diamonds just to be able to compete in all time dom. To be real, that's like
Literally.
that's the only way like you can make any type of sense of this. I think this is the most unanimous like the whole community has been on like anything ever, where
Yes.
it was just like, no, this doesn't work at all,
Yeah.
And
And it was from the get go. I mean, it was just boom. As soon as we saw the block, everybody was right on it. And that was the first thing everybody mentioned, forget everything else that they talked about. It was like, why are these mole rewards rubies?
and not only rubies, but just like really weird names like
Raymond
Raymond Felton, Mike Conley, like Chris Moore. Like I mean, I know my fair share of obscure players, but like I didn't know who he was. I never heard the name. Never didn't know who he was. I had to look him up. I was like, did he really play in the NBA? What era did he play in? Like I had no clue who this dude was. And I know 2K likes to like throw obscure people in there and like juice them to all heavens and like create like my team legends of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they would be like good. Like, so if Chris Morris was like a dude that played like in the 60s or 70s or whatever, and like he averaged, 20 something points a game, whatever, he just fell through the cracks of history. Like, okay, cool. But like the dude's career high was like 14 points per game. Like he was role player like at his peak. You know what I mean? Like why are we getting rewarded with that? Like that doesn't make any sense to me,
Exactly.
And their only logic point is like, well, it's really about like the path to shy, but that's not a valid like why it's like the Sapphire thing. It's like, why you make me get these cards I don't care about that aren't good, that can't factor into like anything on the road to this. It's like, okay, make these things like progressively more rewarding, but like usable in some way. And there's like a tweak with like power creep and like maintaining power creep and power, the pacing, but like name wise, I haven't looked at their stats, but like everything about this is it's bad. It's a bad look.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, it becomes puzzle pieces, like you said, because there's no, and I don't want to say no. Some people are going to, I don't know, vibe with if you're a Grizzlies fan, Conley, stuff like that. I'm not saying that, but I don't want to say even just making these amethysts would be the fix. I mean, it would be better because at least they would, like I said, it'll be a little bit more closer to competition. But
Mhm.
even if you just take, okay, I'm not saying make clutch time, amethyst, Jokic, and then I'm not talking about the elite. Just make them some semi known names. Like amethyst. I don't know, Eddie Jones, amethyst.
Yeah, Rudy Gay, Danny Granger, guys like that that are like
Yeah, yeah.
something,
And guess what?
Andre Karolinko or something like that. Like
Something exactly. The ones who you obviously have the people that sell your packs, and then you have the people that
yeah,
that people just kind of know. Even if those were the things on the path, touche. Because my thing is like, if I play unlimited all the way through, I should feel like, okay, if that's all I wanted to do, at least I got Amethyst Rudy Gay. Like I feel good. I finish whatever. But I got Chris Morris. Okay, I don't care.
yeah,
Like it's all touche. And honestly, if the individual parts were greater, probably will see more people get shade because they're like, oh man, I want that Rudy, but dang, I
mm,
really want that Boogie too.
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's at least a few modes off of here that will keep people just like, nah, I'm just not doing this. Like
Yeah.
Raymond Felton.
Like I'm not. I mean, I don't want to say like for sure because I might get super bored at some point and just play through some stuff. But like, I have no desire to like do this grind for Shy.
I don't
For
I didn't
sure.
even get Roy. Like
And with Roy, like the only reason I probably really got him was because I wanted Alonzo Mourning to have like a big, that like was a defensive big. I was like, all right, well, like he's there, like I can grab him. So let me do triple threat offline, because if not, I probably wouldn't have done it,
Yeah.
So that's just crazy. I think we need to move to like a place where there are like different tier rewards for different modes.
Yes.
And honestly, what I would love to see is like decide like what modes are like the most difficult or whatever, and like and therefore most rewarding. And then like just give us like option packs for like doing the modes.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
these 3 guys are available from this. So complete one of these modes and you get Amethyst, whatever. And that way, like if you want one of those guys, you can play whatever mode you want and do it. And if you really want to complete it, well, then you just complete them all like we have to now, I don't know if that'll work. That was just kind of like a throw in brainstorm thing, but
I love that idea actually.
let's see. Jones, you got anything to add to that?
I mean, you guys kind of nailed it. I just feel like I have a lot of thoughts, but I'll try to sum it. Like, Meech kind of nailed it with the fact that you can basically buy everybody. You can basically buy your team, and ultimately it makes all of those rewards null and void. And Elevate, you also made another great point too. So you did the work and you got Alonzo Mourning. That means you had the grind salary, right? But then you couldn't even run him in salary because his salary was too high. So it becomes like, all right, so all these Ruby rewards we're going to earn, but we can't even plug them into that mode that they are probably the most useful in. And so then you're not even really using them. And I think that's where it becomes bad. Whereas like Brandon Roy, SGA, ultimate rewards, those cards are going to be usable. I think everybody uniformly agrees that SGA is going to be an excellent card. There's no doubt about it. But like, this isn't like the trophy case last year where like, again, I got Pink Diamond Elton Brand. You got Pink Diamond Derrick Rose. You got Pink Diamond Russell Westbrook. You got Pink Diamond Gordon Hayward. The list goes on. And so Ruby Raymond Felton for playing co-op. And if I have to do random co-op games, I'm never doing that. You couldn't pay me to do it. You couldn't pay me everything I make at my current job to do that. I'm not doing it. I will not. And I hate my job. But like, it's just like no, like those are categorically really bad rewards. And the other part of it is like, okay, if you guys are then going to increase these amounts to buy like Michael or buy whoever for the people like Meech or the people like yourself, they need to at the very least then give us less unsellable cards and give us more sellable cards so that we can increase our amounts of MT that we earn. because at this point, at this rate, we are all going to be priced out by December. We're going to hit pink diamonds, and none of us are going to be able to afford one. We're only going to be able to afford one or two cards, and they kind of changed it a little bit today. If you think about it, like we couldn't just buy Shaq during launch. You had to lock in and get them. Now they're going, okay, cool. Same thing they did with Vince, Dr. J, and AD. It's like, yeah, y'all don't got to lock in. You could just buy this. And so now, yeah, you buy 3 cards that are going to be outdated, and then how useful is that? And then you got to work your way back up. Earning maybe 25K a day and that's if you knock out 5 games. That's no good, man. It's just no good. We need more ways to earn MT. And if y'all are also going to do this, then that 60% hit that we take, we got to get rid of that, because at the end of the day, we're not buying a card. We're buying cards in a game that is going to ultimately not allow our progress to roll over into the next game. So I think they really have to look at their optimization right now of MT and if we're getting enough, if you're going to increase those prices. This is a significant jump. This isn't just like, oh yeah, like no, they literally just doubled the amount to buy Michael Jordan. That's crazy. And it's only going to increase. And so yeah, we need more ways to earn MT. I do kind of like what they did today. Like the more you collect those cards from the packs today, they'll throw you like a 2,500 MT. They throw you 100 MT. They do that, before you even play a game. That's kind of cool, but that's still too low. It should be 10K. It should be 20K, because Michael Jordan costs double what the cards cost last month.
Yeah, man. You actually jumped right into my next bullet point that I had, was like diamond market price and stuff like that. And I mean, we talked about this a little bit on the pre-pod, a little bit, I mean, you, Spatial, but
yeah.
So I kind of had like diamond straight out buy price, like somewhere around 250. So it's what, 273 or something like that?
Yeah.
So I had it around 250, and I was like, okay, that seems kind of reasonable, considering last season we were paying 1.1 for Shaq and KD and stuff like that, 750, 800 for Steph. So it's a decent discount on that front. But I was also like, okay, like diamond tiers have been the top tier from like the drop. So 250 for like the top tier now that you can just buy it. 250, okay, cool. But then when pink diamonds come out, like that needs to be like kind of like the ceiling, and everything else needs to kind of like stack down. And if we stay there, like, okay, I'm cool, because I'm also of the firm mindset that I don't want everybody to have like just full on diamond teams. I want to see the diversity. I want to see people would have to make those decisions. Like, okay, like who's going to be my star, my 2 stars, whatever, who's going to be my defensive lockdown dude, who's going to be my role players, who can I like get some buckets for like a couple minutes off the bench, but he doesn't have to be like a super elite. Like I like that part of my team, Yeah. So you're not going to convince me like, hey, like everybody should be able to get every single best card of the game like that, because then you're just totally annihilating like 80% of the players that jump into, like the cards that are given in my team. And I want to use Sapphire Rick Fox, damn it. Like I want to find a spot for like my dudes that are just like role players that are going to play some spot minutes. They're going to get a clutch bucket here or a stop or whatever. That's fun to me. But I agree with absolutely what you're saying. If this continues to skyrocket up, where like pink diamonds are 500K, and then, Galaxy opals are like 750, and then, $1 million for dark matters, like that's crazy. That can't happen. It's got to scale down at some point. I'm okay with it not scaling down right away, because again, diamonds have been the top tier, just only attainable through lock-ins and rewards prior to now. So we'll see where that goes, but it can definitely get scary, and I think there's time for them to adjust, and they really should.
Yeah, and just to kind of add on to what you're saying, Elevate, that's really the fear, seeing 273 on Jordan. That's not that scary to me. And me, I mean, like I know my situation is a little different. Like I said, I mean, I think I've grinded a lot of MT. Because I've been doing the KD thing. So kind of how I broke it down to myself was that if I gave myself, okay, I know I can make 20K a day. But again, I make content. So that's a little bit different. I know not everyone has the time that I do, but even just saying like, okay, for my time, I spent 2 hours, maybe even a little bit shorter. I can make about 20K a day. I can get the amethyst price in a week. I'm okay with that. Now you're going to this diamond 273. Give me like 2 weeks. I probably could muster up, that stuff just from playing the game. Cool. But the fear is what's after that, So like you said, it just gets to a point like, so then like when you get to pink diamonds now, I have to take 4 out of 6 weeks of a season to get one card if I want that, pink diamond. And you
That's
have
too
opals
much.
and dark matters, it's too
way
much
too
at
much.
a point. Yeah,
And
so
I
like I
agree
said,
with what Jones was saying about giving us more like sellable reward packs throughout the thing, because that was the thing in like MLB The Show is like you got all these reward packs. Sometimes you would hit on a decent thing. Okay, little chunk of stubs there. So if we do that, so this is kind of how I see. Like there is a place for unsellable stuff, and there's a place for sellable like reward packs. I like the equal chance like agenda type stuff, and if you want to make those types of things unsellable, I'm okay with it. Straight up agenda things, I'm okay with it. Hey, like you're just giving us like a good shot at like 70K. I just look at it like that. Like, yo, like it's either 70K I don't have to spend towards a collector or a player or a set or whatever. I look at it like that. But just like random packs and like little promo packs and stuff like that, like those things have like they have terrible odds, like it's like 2% of getting something like really good. If we happen to get lucky on that, like let us sell it for like a nice little chunk of MT, And that's how you kind of offset some of this. And that, I mean, I know that's also a dangerous thing because you don't want a game where everybody has just like millions and millions and millions of MT. It kind of skews with everything too. So like, I get why they're being cautious on it, but I think it's time to loosen up the reins a little bit and give us more sellable reward packs from like different rewards or agendas or whatever that we can just come up on a little bit of, come up on 20K at a time, 30K at a time. We don't have to absolutely always grind 4 or 5K at a time playing the game for 2 weeks like that. Unsustainable,
Yeah.
The last thing I want to kind of touch on is what events do you guys want to see in season 2? We got some pretty good ones, scattered throughout season 1. What types of stuff do you guys want to see in season 2? Kind of end on that.
That's a great question.
I mean, that's a really good question. I think I do want to see more Gauntlet. That's the competitive side. I know I'm not gonna say I'm amazing at the game. I'm decent at the game, but the Gauntlet was one of the most fun and frustrating, but frustratingly fun times I had in season 1. So I definitely want to see more Gauntlets. Maybe you can switch the mode it's in. So if you did put something unlimited, obviously don't make it 15. Please don't make it 15.
Yes.
Do something normal, I don't know, 3, 5, maybe, kind of test the luck if you need to. Or put it in, clutch time. If you can put it, you can even put it in offline, even if it's not for, the Chris Bosch of the world, maybe it's a nice
win by 15 in all-time Dom 8 times in a row for
Like I would never get that card. I would never get that card. But like even if you put in like clutch offline, win 20 games, you get a nice little Ruby or something. I don't know, just something like that. I think would be cool. So I definitely want to
give
see
him an
more
emerald,
Gauntlet type things.
Give him an emerald.
Yeah, emerald. You know what happens. I definitely want to see more stuff like that. And then, to be honest, I do want to see a return of those like free sets, like the same face, new place, the summer standouts. Because even me being, I mean, I still have only spent my team wise $20 on the half pass. Actually, I bought the half pass again this time, so I guess you could take it up to 40. But I didn't buy anything else. But as a whole, those sets gave people Dylan Brooks. They gave people trying to see some others.
Jabari Smith, Jordan Walsh.
Jabari Smith.
And so I was gonna jump into that. I mean, like even with me being able to accumulate MT, I have Steph, I will have KD, I have Buck, I have some of the elite cards. I still felt like Chris Paul is actually in my lineup. Like, I mean, he may be gone now because Donovan's here, but he was in my lineup all season 1. He was a completely free card. So even for the guys who can get all of the other cards, there's still, those one or two that maybe, you know, that may even hit for them. And then for the guys who, can't get the MJs, can't get the books, these things are really key for them. So we have
Yeah.
to see it. These cards, they're not hurting anybody, they're not breaking the game. They're
Yes.
just giving those guys that really are, the either no money spent or don't have all of the time to grind the MT options at cards to try new things. They have to be there. They have to be
Yeah.
there,
Yes.
especially with the way that this game is, in a monetization stage. Those have to be. It's necessary, and I don't. It has to be to a point where you can't mask it behind the, even the Dwayne Wade thing. I don't fully hate it. I get it. Like you said, Elevate, it was kind of a mid tier thing, like, oh, pay a little, you still get this elite card, but like there needs to be the complete, hey, come play this game. You're getting these cards, have fun. There's no MT involved. Just whatever time you have, you can get it. So
Yep.
those two are the big ones for me.
I agree with that.
I
Facial?
agree. No, I think Meech nailed it. I fully agree with that. I think my biggest thing for season 2 is definitely free grinds. Would I like to see more Amethyst free grinds? Yeah. I do understand, to your point, Elevate, about pacing and lineup diversity. So, I know they'll probably do like, yeah, do all 5 and then lock in 4 Nami. But, I'd like to see more than 2 of those free sets. Me personally, I do not want to see another buy-in set for a while, though. I'd probably prefer to see that next month when all the free people, the discounted 2K users come around in November. But this month, yeah, I'd like to see at least 3 of those free sets where we can just get some players, add to our collection. More people get collector level, so then they can get those cool collector level diamonds that Gordon Hayward's kind of nice. Stuff like that. I think the other thing I want to see, and it's probably a big ask, but I'm gonna hold firm on it. I want to see, again, an increase in the amounts that we earn. I think that has to be upped, or they need to really remove that 60% loss that you get for buying a player or getting a pack, whatever the case may be. Because again, you know, we we need to be earning healthy amounts of MT. I'm not saying we need to be earning the most MT. I'm not saying that, but 25K a day, is ideal, and you're probably, going to be under being able to buy a player every 2 weeks at that rate now. And if they're going to do these inserts where it's like your favorite guy, like, what if the next player is like Diamond? Who haven't we gotten yet? Diamond,
Braun.
Devin Booker, Diamond Braun. That's probably the next one, actually.
Mhm.
Diamond Braun, Diamond Jalen Brown,
Diamond
something
Kobe.
like that. Diamond Kobe, something like that. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna have it at that amount, that's fine, but we need to be earning more, and we need to earn it a little bit faster. The way it was last month, because they've accelerated it, isn't gonna be able to work anymore. It's over now.
I got 2 solutions that just kind of like popped into my head while you're kind of talking about that stuff. So one is just like throw us a couple more, like, how like you get like complete this part of the agenda and it's like 100 freaking MT. You see those?
Yeah.
Like ups things like, bro, like throw us like 5K or something like in some of those, or
Yeah.
throw us just some agendas that are just like, instead of some reward card, it's just like, so here's some MT or stuff, like mix in stuff like that where we can like accumulate with larger chunks. And then the other idea was kind of like messing with the grading multipliers a little bit so that you break even a little bit lower. You don't have to get a 10 to like get a little bit more than what you do. Like if you just messed with that a little bit, so it's a little bit more forgiving, because that's kind of how I think they planned out. Okay, we're going to justify this 60% tax, but with grading, it could be closer to like auction house losses, depreciation back, like whatever. I think that's kind of what their thought process was, but just make that a little bit more forgiving so we don't have to get a 10 or a 9.75 to almost break even. Like, just bring that down a little bit.
Yeah.
And like, I think
everything probably can take a nice bump, 1 down or something.
Something like that, where it's, like, or with a 10, like make some substantial, whatever, just, you get what I'm saying. So those are kind of ways to alleviate that and then just get a little bit more MT into our pockets. It's just tweaks, man. It's just tweaks. Like I think there's a really solid foundation, but there's just tweaks that like
It's a great way to put it, Elevate.
Yeah, I like what you said about the grading too, because I think the way you can. If you get a 10, it's double, right?
Yes.
So if you get a 10, it's double. Hollow is 4 times the price, right? If I'm not mistaken. So maybe that can be kind of the way you scale it. So you're rarely hollows are rare, so that can be your 4 times. Maybe you can take it where the getting a 10 is 3 times,
yeah,
and
something like
then
that.
maybe if you had a 9, now you're getting double. Because I think you come. I mean, you're obviously going to come by a 9 more than a 10, but I feel like a pretty healthy amount will see a 9. So maybe that 4, 3, 2. That way, it kind of helps you a little bit more.
Yeah,
I
just
like that
something
grade.
along those lines to just help us out a little bit on that side. I think that goes a long way to showing goodwill and just leaving it some of the like the kickback on that. Like, yo, this tax is crazy. Okay, it is, but like if you just grade it and whatever, there's a pathway there at least.
Yes, that's the point. That's the point. Elevate. It's all about a pathway. That's really it. And I think you really put it in perfect terms when you said it's just about fine tuning. That's really it. Because I think the gameplay is in a really good spot. So that's great. Great point.
All right, y'all. This was a lot of fun. Next time we will be like really diving into season 2 and whatever the hot topics are in the community and the gameplay and all that stuff. So thank you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the pod. Drop a like, all that good stuff. Follow us each on our platforms. Call me Meech, Spatial Jones. They call me Elevate. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.